Something is happening in the NFL free agent market right now that represents the most significant shift in this offseason since it began. Not because of what you are seeing in the headlines. Actually, the headlines are covering this exactly backward. Every major outlet is running the same three stories. Aaron Rodgers is weighing his options. Joe Mixon is shopping his services. Tyreek Hill is rehabbing toward a contender. Each of those framings is technically true, and each of them is missing the actual story underneath. Because what is really happening on the veteran market in the first week of May 2026 is not a series of independent decisions by aging stars, it is a structural correction. The league is finally repricing a generation of high-leverage skill players, and the contracts that get signed in the next 72 hours are going to tell us exactly where that new floor sits. The first thing you have to understand is the Aaron Rodgers situation, because nobody is reading the Pittsburgh tender correctly. On April 30th, the Steelers placed an unrestricted free agent tender on Rodgers, a mechanism that has only been used 6 times across the entire league in the last decade. The public framing is that this is a courtesy move, a placeholder, something Steelers ownership called not a real big deal. That framing is wrong. The UFA tender does 3 specific things at once, and only one of them is about Rodgers actually returning to Pittsburgh. It establishes a salary floor at roughly $15 million, a 10% bump on his 2025 number. It gives the Steelers right of first refusal on any offer sheet from another club, and it locks in compensatory pick relief for the 2027 draft if Rodgers walks. That third piece is the actual driver. Art Rooney essentially told the league on the record that the comp pick was the main thing the tender gave them. Translate that out of front office language, and what you are hearing is a franchise that is already pricing in the possibility he leaves and making sure they get paid for it. Now layer in what is happening in Arizona. The Cardinals just hired Nathaniel Hackett as offensive coordinator. Hackett is not a coordinator the Cardinals would have hired in a vacuum. He was Rodgers' play caller in Green Bay, his closest professional friendship in the league, and the bridge that originally pulled Rodgers to the Jets. Cardinals quarterback Jacoby Brissett is currently skipping voluntary workouts because he wants starter money, and Gardner Minshew is signed only through the upcoming season. The roster construction in Arizona is not built around Brissett. It is built to absorb a veteran. The Cardinals know it, Pittsburgh knows it, and the May 18th OTA deadline that the Post-Gazette reported is not a polite request. It is a hard line because the Steelers also drafted Drew Aller in the 3rd round, and they need to know whether they are running an offense for a 42-year-old MVP or a rookie out of Penn State. Mike McCarthy, now the Steelers head coach, has publicly said he wants Rodgers back. McCarthy coached Rodgers for 13 of his 20 NFL seasons. In 9 of those 11 years as a starter under McCarthy, Rodgers posted a top 5 PFF grade. That history is the gravity pulling him back to Pittsburgh. The Cardinals are the counter-gravity, the tender is the leverage, and the headlines covering this as a quarterback indecision story are missing the entire mechanical structure underneath. But there is a second thing almost no one is connecting properly, and it is the Joe Mixon situation. The mainstream framing is that Mixon is a 30-year-old veteran back looking for a landing spot. That framing is generous. The actual reality is harder. Mixon was released by the Texans on March 6th with a non-football injury designation. That phrase, non-football injury, is doing an enormous amount of work, and most coverage is glossing right over it. It means Mixon's foot injury was not sustained at the team facility, was not part of his contract obligations to Houston, and was significant enough that the Texans were able to recover roughly $8 million in cap space without having to fight the dead money structure on his 3-year, $27 million extension. He missed the entirety of the 2025 season. The injury was never publicly disclosed. He underwent surgery this offseason with an unknown timetable, and the team that originally traded for him that put him in their backfield behind C.J. Stroud, that watched him rush for over 1,000 yards and earn a Pro Bowl nod in 2024, just paid actual draft capital to acquire David Montgomery from the Detroit Lions rather than wait to see if Mixon could come back. This reveals something fundamental about the limits of his market. NFL clubs do not sign 30-year-old running backs with undisclosed foot injuries and post-surgical timelines that even their previous general manager refused to elaborate on. Washington has been mentioned as a fit because of their need for ball security at the position, and Mixon was, before the injury, sitting on a streak of nearly 1,000 consecutive touches without a fumble. That is a real data point. But ball security only matters if a player can run, and the league is currently in possession of zero recent tape that confirms Mixon can. What looks like a free agency story on the surface is, on closer inspection, a quiet career obituary in real time. If Mixon signs anywhere in the next 72 hours, it will be a veteran minimum prove-it deal with a roster bonus structure that allows the team to walk before training camp. That is the actual ceiling. Anything more than that is wishful thinking from agents and beat reporters who do not want to write the harder column. The third thing is Tyreek Hill, and Hill is where the structural correction in the market becomes most visible. Released by Miami on February 16th to avoid $16 million of fully guaranteed 2026 money. Coming off a Week 4 injury against the Jets that was not a clean ACL tear, but a knee dislocation with multi-ligament damage that required surgical intervention and, according to recent reporting, a second procedure that has further clouded his return timeline. He is 32 years old. His 2025 production before the injury was 21 catches for 265 yards and a single touchdown across 4 games, the lowest pace of his career. And the league has noticed. Hill has been on the open market for almost 3 full months. Tua Tagovailoa, also released by the Dolphins, was on a 1-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons within days. Hill's phone has been quiet, and that quiet is telling you something the headlines will not. The teams listed as logical fits, Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, the Chargers, San Francisco, New England, Atlanta, are all real possibilities on paper. Atlanta in particular has the cleanest fit because Michael Penix Jr. needs a vertical threat to take the lid off 2 high coverages playing over Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and rookie Zachariah Branch is an unknown. The Chiefs' reunion narrative is even cleaner from a story standpoint because Hill knows the offense, has the rapport with Patrick Mahomes, and could focus on rehab inside a system that does not require him to be a 125 target volume option, but none of that has produced a contract. Because what the rest of the league is pricing in, and what most coverage is refusing to say out loud, is that a 32-year-old wide receiver whose entire competitive identity is sub-430 speed, coming off a multi-ligament knee reconstruction, is a fundamentally different asset than the player Miami extended for $90 million in August of 2024. The market is telling you what the medicals will not, and it is doing so quietly by simply not bidding. Whatever Hill signs for when he signs will be a 1-year incentive-laden contract structured around playing time, snap counts, and statistical thresholds. It will not be a multi-year guarantee, and the gap between his 2024 cap number and his 2026 cap number will be the single clearest data point of the offseason on how the league actually values aging speed. That same logic, in less dramatic form, is what is keeping Stefon Diggs unsigned at 32, what is slowing Joey Bosa's market despite a league-leading 5 forced fumbles last season in Buffalo, and what is keeping veterans like David Njoku and Juwan Jennings still circling the market into May. The structural correction is real. It is just not branded as one in the headlines, so here is what to watch over the next 48 to 72 hours. The Steelers' OTA window opens on May 18th, which means Rodgers' decision is now measured in days, not weeks, and the first concrete signal will come from either a Pittsburgh signing announcement or a Cardinals visit becoming public. Mixon's camp will either accept a veteran minimum prove-it offer or his agent will go quiet, and the latter is the more likely outcome. Tyreek Hill's medical clearance is the unlock for any real contract conversation, and the team that lands him will be the team willing to absorb the rehab risk in exchange for the upside of one last playoff run with a Hall of Fame resume attached. The headlines will keep covering these as 3 separate stories. They are not. They are one story. 3 veteran stars, 3 different positions, 3 different injury or contract situations, all of them telling you that the leverage in this league has moved away from the player and toward the front office in a way it has not in nearly a decade. The next 72 hours will tell you exactly how far that pendulum has swung. And by the end of this week, the balance of power on the veteran market will have fundamentally broken,